You are listening to WMHW HD1 and HD2 Mount Pleasant, Mountain 91.5, a service of Central Michigan University's School of Broadcast and Cinematic Arts. Hello, folks, and welcome in. This is episode 3 of Count That Baby and a Foul, a Detroit Pistons show here on 91.5 The Mountain, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Anthony Schulte, joined by Ryan Donnelly. It's been a while since we've had a show on the air. This show, exactly. A lot has happened in the Pistons world. Winners of 2 straight in the preseason. 2-game win streak.
Yeah. Hope your Friday is going well, TGIF. But play the Thunder twice, beat them twice after you put in your crap lineup last night. Although you did kind of almost blow a 12-point lead. Still got the win last minute. Monty's playing smart, which we'll talk about later. It's impressive to see what they've done the past 2 games, especially with like the players like Umude and Wiseman and Ivy and all these other guys that probably won't get a lot. Well, I mean, Ivy will get a lot of time. But like all these other guys that probably either will make it the G League or like won't get a lot of time. It's good to see that these guys are actually getting minutes and showing what they can do.
Yeah, so you brought up last night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Pistons played a road game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was a special game at the BOK Center to bring basketball back to Tulsa. It's what Oklahoma City does every single preseason. And Oklahoma City's been on the road a lot. They've been to Montreal. They've been to Tulsa, Charlotte. They've been all over the place when it comes to the preseason. But last night, the Pistons haven't played in a week. They have fresh legs. The last time they played anything publicly was the open practice that me and you went to. Mm-hmm. What a fun time. We'll get into open practice later, though. So recapping last night, excuse me, the Pistons take home a close win, almost lose it at the end, but like you said, Monty had the G Leaguers in. No disrespect to them, but they are going to be two-way players or G League players. Marcus Sasser. I want to talk about Marcus Sasser because he looks like a good closer already. He does. You look at the last Oklahoma City game in Montreal a week ago from yesterday, and then last night's game against Oklahoma City. Sasser's been in the fourth quarter, and it's been his quarter. Last night he took over. He had about, 12 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Against Oklahoma City, he led that 21-point comeback to steal a win from the Thunder out in Montreal. Marcus Sasser is the real deal.
Marcus Sasser is the real deal. I was so, like I said, every show that we've done here on 91.5 about the Pistons, I said every time that I'm high on Marcus Sasser, and it's basically showing out. He's been phenomenal for the Pistons. You haven't really seen a lot of Killian Hayes, although Killian Hayes has impressed this preseason. Marcus Sasser is the real deal, and if he keeps playing like he is, if he translates the way that he's been playing in Summer League and preseason into the regular season, I can see him replace Killian Hayes soon. And both point guards are playing really well this preseason, which I can't believe I'm saying that Killian Hayes is playing well this preseason, but yeah. It's impressive to see what Sasser has done, although, yes, he needs to work on ball handling, because I think he's like, when he goes towards the lane, I feel like he bobbles that ball, especially with that left and right hand. He like bobbles it and then loses it and then picks it back up and then he'll just pass it because of that 0.5 offense, and he just doesn't want to get either less minutes or just get cut in general. He needs to work on ball control. I think that's the one thing that I've seen from Sasser that he needs to like actually work on. He's explosive, he's fast, he's shifty. He has a good jumper. I like Sasser. Yeah.
A big thing Monty Williams has honed in on during this training camp is defense. Defense is one of the main things that he's been working on and hanging his hat on to start this season off. And we've seen a lot of improvement on the defensive end of the ball and rebounding the ball. But one of the lineups he threw out there last night was the starting lineup. It was Cade Cunningham, Killian Hayes, Oscar Thompson, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren. That's a big lineup. It's a big lineup, very defensive-heavy lineup. Now, a player that we have not seen start yet in the preseason is Jaden Ivey. Is he embracing more of a sixth-man role? Maybe, but I could see why Ivey is on the bench, because Ivey's defense isn't up to what you'd want it to be if you're Monty Williams. And Monty Williams is rewarding the defense, Killian Hayes getting the start, and Alec Burks was in there for shooting. But he was like, okay, let's get Killian Hayes played well. Let's see what he could do next to Cade. And you know what? I liked the lineup.
I do like.
I liked the lineup as much as Killian Hayes may trigger some fans in a way of sadness with that 7th overall pick. I like that lineup. It's big. It's defensive. You don't really have much shooting, but when Oscar Thompson is shooting 66% from 3, Cade Cunningham shooting 66% from 3, you got your shooters, I guess, because they're knocking down shots. This team's really improved their shooting. And I want to get your thoughts on Jaden Ivey coming off the bench, because a lot of people are like, no, Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham are our backcourt. That's our backcourt of the future. But honestly, if Jaden Ivey sat down with Coach Williams and Monty was like, hey, I think you'd be way better in this league and for this team as a 6th man, and you just need to work on your defense and your ball control because Ivey loses the ball a lot. He had all the turnovers in, the second or third quarter? So Ivey taking that bench role, you might want to think in the future, too, what if we bring in a Devin Booker-type player, a player at the 2 or the 3, and Ivey would have to come off the bench regardless because Oscar Thompson is starting because of that defense.
Or what if we get Devin Booker?
I said Devin Booker.
You said a Devin Booker-like player.
Well, I meant Devin Booker or a player like Devin Booker. That's a heavy, shooter, scorer at the 2 or the 3.
Here's the thing: Devin Booker loves Detroit. He's embracing Detroit. He's from Grand Rapids. But anyways, besides the point, I could see him come off the bench, especially he's defensive struggles. He's had a lot of defensive struggles, and also him having not that good ball control. I can see him on that second unit. And yes, I like that bench role from him. Although, I think when he's not that number 1 option, he's, good. When he's that number 1 option, he's going to struggle a lot. But I feel like if you mesh him with Cade Cunningham, he's going to develop fine.
As a leader off the bench, I could see that being a good role just for future, because say we do bring in that number 1 option at the 2 or the 3, you move Oscar at either the 2 or the 3, depending on what player you sign. Jaden Ivey's coming off the bench.
Then, yeah, if we sign Booker, or we get a generational talent that can shoot, that can score, that can play defense, that plays the shooting guard, yes, move Ivey to the bench.
I think it's Monty Williams planning ahead. And he's like, you know what? Eventually, if we're going to be a good team, we're going to need a number 1 option next to Cade, and that's not going to be Ivey. Let's prepare Ivey for the bench role.
Yeah, and if we get that player like Booker or that shooter, defender, whatever, then we move Ivey to the bench. But then again, Monty knows what he sees in these guys. He's a people's coach.
Yeah.
So it's his team. I'm not Monty Williams. But if I was Monty Williams, I'd say, hey, just work on your defense. Work on trying to keep the ball to yourself. Make sure nobody gets the ball from you, and then maybe we can move you up for a couple games. Maybe start see how you mesh with Cade.
Ivey will start some games. Mm-hmm. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be times and places where it's appropriate. But I think even if he starts opening night, I think using this preseason to kind of test it out, hey, how's Ivey off the bench? I think that also could be what Monty's doing. Moving on to just some highlights from last night. Oscar Thompson, what a stud this guy is. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, a block, shooting splits of 63, 66, 75 last night. What a performance from the Thompson twin.
This guy is something special. And on draft night, I really wanted Cam Whitmore. He's doing...
I still think we should have traded to get the 20th pick to get Cam Whitmore.
I think we should have traded up to get Cam Whitmore. But I love Oscar Thompson, man. I was like, I don't like... Because here's the thing. He's not out of a non-collegiate program. He's coming out of overtime. Which
both the Thompson twins look great.
Yeah,
so
Amen and Asor look beautiful. I was very worried because, they came out of overtime elite, which, by the way, didn't know they could actually go to the draft. But but the only thing that I really liked about Asor is that him and Amen have that basketball background. They're both ballers, like they said in their draft, that they were both growing up ballers, that their main focus was basketball, and that like they'll work their tails off to like be the best version of themselves that they can be. And it's showing. Asor Thompson, again, he's a great defensive perimeter guy. I think in a few years, I could see him become one of the best 3-and-D players in this league if he keeps having these shooting splits that he's had the past few games.
Yeah.
And also, he's a phenomenal defender. That's the one thing I really liked out of him, is that he's a great defender. Whether it's on the perimeter or it's on the block, then he is a great defender. He can steal, he can shoot, he has great court vision, he has great awareness. That's what I really love about Asor Thompson. The one thing that I really do want him to work on is shooting that three.
I mean, he's been hitting them.
And he's been hitting those threes. He hit that game-tying bucket against the Suns, the first preseason game. I knew he'd make that because, again, he was wide open. But he does need to work on his three ball a little bit more. He needs to tinker on that a little bit. But other than that, yes, I am sold on Asor Thompson. I just really hope he translates what he's done the past two, the Summer League and preseason, to the regular season. And then we got ourselves our small forward of the future.
It looks like he's really improved that three ball from these last couple preseason games. And there's this one play last night where it was, I forgot who lobbed it. I think it was Cade who lobbed it, I want to say. Cade or Ivy?
Cade Asor? No, it was Cade lobbed it to Duran.
I remember that. Was it Killian?
It was Killian. I think it was Killian to Asor.
Asor Thompson was floating in the air. Floating. This man was floating. He goes up, and he's waiting for the ball at the apex of his jump, and he gets the ball, slams it home. Absolutely beautiful play. If you haven't seen it, I'd look it up on YouTube. This kid went off last night, Asor Thompson. Maybe he's just a Thunder killer. Who knows? Because he's had 2 great games against the Thunder, but
he's also had 3 great games in the preseason. So
he has.
He might be a Western Conference killer.
A Western Conference killer, maybe. Cade Cunningham last night, 14 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 50% from the field, 66 from 3. I'm really impressed with Cade so far in this preseason. That's non-biased because, of course, Cade's my favorite player, but Cade has looked like the player that we were told about from over the summer at Rico Hines and the Olympic scrimmages, because Cade Cunningham, he looked comfortable. He's so methodical with the ball. I said that in one of my projects I did for a class. I did on Cade Cunningham, and I said he's just methodical with the ball. It's his game. He slows down the game and plays the game the way he wants. He wants to play fast. You're going to be playing fast. He wants to play slow. Guess what? You're playing slow. And he was making shots. He was taking smart shots. A couple shots rimmed off. But he's been impressive in the preseason. It's been a sample size, too. If this is a normal game, that's probably a 25, 26-point game with maybe 10 assists and 8 rebounds. Probably, if I'm projecting. But he got 14, 6, and 6. A great night from Cade, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing from him.
Coming off that ankle injury, I was very worried that he'd have a slow down year.
You mean shin?
Huh?
You mean shin injury? Are you talking about Cade?
Yeah, but, I thought he'd slow down a little bit, not be as explosive as he was the 17 games he played last year, and the year that he played his rookie year, which was beyond impressive, 21 points per game, which that's unbelievable for a Pistons rookie. Seeing what he's done at Team USA has been impressive. Just playing like himself. That's what I really like. Monty Williams is letting him play like himself, but also making sure he runs through his offense and his defense. I like that about Cade Cunningham, is that he's still playing how he wants to, being that explosive guy, being that guy that could give you 25 a game, good defense. It's impressive to see what Cade has done this preseason. Although, yes, first game he looked very rusty. felt because he stepped on an NBA court, and he didn't play a lot, but when he did, he looked a little rusty. But these past couple games that he's played, he's looked great. So we just need a healthy. If we want to be competitive in this league, we need a healthy Cade.
Yeah,
1,000%. We need a healthy Cade, healthy Boyan, solid numbers from both Asor, Ivy, and Stewart and Duran. We just need all these players to improve, which we've seen so far from this team. Like we either we're winning games by like 3 or we're losing by 4 to powerhouses.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I really have seen from this Pistons team, and Cade, and having Cade there helps a lot.
It does. It does. I'm really looking for him to take that step up from the 19.9 points per game last year and the 17.1 points it was his rookie year. I'm really looking for him to step up to that 25 point per game all-star fringe range this season. That's what I'm looking for from Cade. But tonight, we have another game tonight, 8 o'clock against Dallas at Dallas. It's going to be a fun one. It's on Bally Sports Detroit, and I think 97 won the ticket. So make sure to tune in tonight, watch the boys play the final preseason game before Wednesday's regular season opener. Tonight against Dallas, I don't know if the starters won't be out yet, but
probably not.
Oh, Justice Winslow just signed with the Raptors. I was about to say,
breaking news: Justice Winslow signed with the Raptors.
There's that. Tonight, I'm assuming the starters are going to be the same: Cade, Killian, Osser, Isaiah Stewart, and Jalen Duren. Would not be surprised if Cade's out for this one, but I think he's going to play because he's from Arlington, wants to play in front of the hometown crowd. So I think Monty will let him do that, even if it's for like 5 or 6 minutes. Just getting Cade on the court, getting them more prepared and used to the NBA action after being off for so long. I want to see more of Stanley Umude tonight. He's been really impressive over his last couple preseason games, hitting some big shots. I know he had that really big game against Phoenix. He also had a nice, solid game against the Thunder back in Montreal. He had some good minutes last night. I want to see more Umude tonight because it really is a battle for that final two-way spot. You've got Tosun Ebwamwan, who has not really played that much in the preseason. You've got Stanley Umude, Buddy Boeheim. You've got Xavier Simpson. So a lot of players fighting for that final spot. I think it's going to be Umude. I think he's earned it, but I really want to see much more of a sample size from him tonight, being the last preseason game.
I really think Umude will get that. I think Ebwamwan will most likely get that G League spot or get that two-way spot, Umude will get that two-way. I think Tosun Ebwamwan will get that G League contract, same with Boeheim, but I could see Simpson get cut. He is not played the best.
He'll play in the G League. I don't think he'll get cut.
I don't think he'll play for the Motor City Cruise, but I think he'll get signed to a G League team. I think we're going to cut him, and then he'll get signed automatically, yeah.
Really?
I could see him. Yeah, I don't see him.
He played pretty good against the Suns. I don't say he played bad against the Suns.
He didn't play bad. I thought listen, I grew up a Michigan fan, so, seeing him play at Michigan was great, but seeing him perform in the NBA has been just a slowed down version. He's in his 4th year. He just needs to. He still hasn't learned how to really play with a rotation, but he's still playing solid. He's not putting up Michigan numbers, but he needs to just step up, especially if he wants to make an NBA roster instead of making a tanking roster. Not like the Pistons are tanking. They're not tanking. We're going to be competitive this year. But I can see him get cut this week and then sign with a G League team or sign a two-wayer. Yeah. I just haven't really seen a lot from Simpson, but I could see Stanley Umude get that two-way spot and then Tosun and Buddy get the G League contracts. But I could see Simpson get cut, and it pains me to say that.
Yeah.
But taking a look at tonight, Cade, I think, will play at least minimum a quarter. Not much. He might put up some numbers tonight, but then again, it's preseason. You want to rest your guys, especially since this is the last preseason game and you have 5 days to rest when you play
You don't want
Miami.
anybody getting hurt.
You don't want anybody
That
getting
doesn't have
hurt,
to get
especially
hurt.
when you only have 5 days to rest and recover.
But also, in that same token, you want your players to get that just more experience, more comfortable. That's why it's a really fine line, because, of course, you don't want your players to get hurt. But I'm all for treat the final preseason game like it's a regular season game. Because if you do that, right, it's harder on a back-to-back. But if you do that, then you're more prepared going into your first regular season game. It's not you're playing the end of your bench, unloading the end of your bench in the middle of the third. You're playing your rotation players and your starters in crunch time, unlike what we saw last night. What we saw last night was a unit of Sasser, Boeheim, Yamude. I think Wiseman was out there, and Ivy and Harris were kind of swapping places out there. It was more unloading more of the end of the bench, and I think that was because it was the first half of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
And now we are going to be able. Monty was like, "Okay, we'll play them tonight in crunch time, and then in crunch time tomorrow night, if there is, we'll play our starters." I think the final preseason game has to be a full dress rehearsal. Treat it like a regular season game, end the preseason on a high note, and go into Miami with being more comfortable. Like, you know what, we want to act like we're in the middle of the season, not the start of the season. So let's treat this final game like it's an actual regular season game.
I can see that, especially, like, I think treat this like a regular season game. You do that to the guys that you feel like are going to get cut or, like, not going to make the active roster, like Mude and Tosan and Buddy and Xavier and all these other guys, but tell them to treat it like it's a final game so they can play their best. But you don't tell your starters that. Like, you need them to stay healthy. It's a risk putting them on, like, especially like when you. I mean, obviously play them in the preseason, but don't play them that much where they get tired and then they just fall apart, and then you play your first regular season game against the reigning Eastern Conference champions 5 days later.
Right.
Just tell your bench guys
On the road, nonetheless.
It's on the road too, which that's freaky. Especially Miami having a really good home court these past, like, 10, 15 years. But I just say tell your bench guys, tell your two-way guys, tell your G-Leaguers, treat this like a real game.
Right.
Just, I wouldn't, like, be worried about, like, Cade or Boyan if he plays. Duran.
Boyan's out for the preseason. So is Monte.
So, and, like, Burks, like, don't tell him, like, hey, just play the way you've been playing, but hey, all these other guys, Stanley, Killian, James, Buddy, Tosan, play this like a regular game. Play the way you want to play your game. Play, especially against like Kyrie and Luka, which, by the way, Kyrie, I don't like that duo because Kyrie wants to be a number one option and Luka is the obvious number one option. But that's an argument for another day. But especially guard up on Kyrie, guard up on Luka. I don't even know who else on the mat. Josh Hardy, get up on him. Jaden Hardy, whatever. Dwight Powell, he's a okay center. Just make sure you guard up on him. Just tell the bench. Treat this like a regular game.
Grant Williams is on the Mavericks too.
Oh yeah, Grant Williams. Whoop-de-doo. He looks like Batman, and he's actually pretty good.
Grant Williams is a decent player.
He's all right. I mean, it'll help a lot, but I don't think they'll make the playoffs though.
Now we've mentioned it being a back-to-back tonight and yesterday, and one thing that not only myself but a lot of Pistons Twitter and a lot of just Pistons fans in general are wondering is why do we have a week off while everybody else is playing their preseason games, and then you toss a road back-to-back on us? Why? And like, I get it's just preseason, but I don't understand why you give a team a week off from playing preseason games. Everybody else is playing their preseason games, and then you give us a back-to-back. You're telling me you couldn't schedule the Oklahoma City game in Tulsa 3 nights ago? No. 2 nights ago?
Like maybe Tuesday?
Right, Tuesday, and then we cap it off tonight in Dallas. I don't know. I don't like back-to-backs. The Pistons have the most back-to-backs of any team this season. We have 17 back-to-backs or something like that.
I don't know. It sounds right. We have a lot.
We have a lot of back-to-backs. I don't like it. Personally, I don't understand the logic of give a team a week off and then give them a back-to-back to close the preseason. I get it's just preseason, but the last night, instead of playing conservatively because you have a back-to-back and you want your players to be fresh for tomorrow, you don't want anything to happen and make them, whether it's tired or now they can't play tomorrow night because they aggravated something, who knows. You're not playing your rotation guys because you're trying to save them for tomorrow night. And so now Buddy Boeheim is getting crunch time minutes, even though he got a big offensive rebound. Mm-hmm. He's getting crunch time minutes next to Staley Umude. All respect to him, but I'd rather see Cade, Ossard, Stewart, Duran, Killian out there than our G League team closing out the game. Now, the Thunder unloaded their bench, too. I will give them that. They did unload their bench, too, but you want to be practiced. These are dress rehearsals. When you're rehearsing for a play, right, you're not putting in the understudies just because you don't want your main guys and your main actors and actresses. You don't want them to get tired, so you put in the understudies for the final rehearsal, the final two rehearsals. No. You're supposed to put in your main people that you got going in. And we see last night Buddy Boeheim getting crunch time minutes. I mean, it's something where I think it's just you're more unlucky than the NBA schedule makers having it out against Detroit, but it's just unfortunate because you want to see these players, especially someone like an Osser, I liked Sasser being out there at the end. I think that's getting him good experience, but I want to see Osser out there getting that experience in crunch time. We saw that against the Suns. We saw the big guys out there against the Suns because we didn't have a back-to-back. I don't know. It's something where I'm looking at it like now, instead of Osser getting that valuable experience going into the season, he was sitting in a jumpsuit on the bench watching. That's just my take on it.
It makes no sense why the Pistons. I mean, I think it's because like they want to see the Lakers or the Suns or the Bucks or
get an easy win off of
so they get the easy win, but I think that's my theory. And then you have like the teams like the Wizards and the Hornets and the Pistons and the Blazers and all these other teams that like are so low to the ground that you don't want to see them play. That's my theory on why they like don't play them that much. It's for prime time and for money. But
yeah, I mean, when you're looking at it like that in the regular season, it makes sense. You want your big dogs to try and get an easy win. I think Detroit's going to be a team coming into this year like, you gave us this many back-to-backs, you're putting our backs against the wall, let us come out and show you. Right? An anonymous GM said, the Bucks could lose to a team like Detroit a couple times because you're playing them on the second half of a back-to-back, you're underestimating them. Well, they're young guns. You got to remember, we're young. It's not like we're a team like the Warriors where your entire starting lineup's almost 30, and all the back-to-backs would really start to hurt towards the middle of the season. But you got young players. Hopefully, they can play like young players and have fresh legs.
Yeah.
The injury concerns on this team, it's a little concerning, especially coming off of last year. Just a lot of. You even saw Sadiq Bey get injured last year.
Yeah.
He's every single night, even if I got a sprained ankle, I'm going to play type of guy. And he was out for 3 or 4 games last year with a sprained ankle. So the injury bugs really hit us. And I think that could have been due to the back-to-backs last season. We had a lot last season too, but I really hope this team comes in and they're like, you want to give us all these back-to-backs? Okay, let's go win these games. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But were we a second-half team? Would you say we're a second-half team? Because in Montreal, we haven't been with you guys in a while. So we haven't been able to cover really any of the preseason games. But let's go to Montreal because even the Suns, too. And last night, too, after that disappointing first half, only scoring 49 points. Second quarter, really disappointing on the defensive end of things. Third quarter, we come out, we drop 39 points.
Yeah.
And we are right back in the game, and we end up ultimately winning the game. Montreal, we come back from 21 down in the second half, led by Marcus Sasser. Phoenix, we come back from, 26 down.
Yeah,
and we send it to overtime
20+, and then
after
lost by 4.
After the Suns shoot 80% on us in the first quarter. It looks like we're a little bit of a second-half team. Does that worry me? Yes, because I think you need to be a full 48-minute team, not a second or first half or third quarter, fourth quarter team. But it's kind of interesting to see the little things that are developing here with this team, how the second half, I think we're really waking up at halftime. I think that's that Monty Williams leadership. Yeah. Like a little wake-up call in the locker room.
Especially what we've seen in Montreal and Phoenix, we are a second-half team. We've always been a second-half team, and especially we just need that Monty Williams leadership to just step up just the whole game and not just the second half. And when you're down by 15 or 20, be like, hey, wake up. Let's try and win some games. And then we either lose by a lot or we lose by a little or we win by a little. This team, the one thing that I've seen so far in preseason is that we just keep it close every time. That's always been the Pistons' first half of the year where we keep it close against every team in the league. That was with Dwayne Casey. That was with Stan Van Gundy. This is with Mo Cheeks. Mo Cheeks.
Yeah, Mo Cheeks, yeah.
It's always been like that. I feel like the Pistons have always been that team that keeps it close.
Yeah, I think it's, especially this preseason, it's a point to Monty Williams' leadership and why he's such a coveted coach and a player's coach. Because you've heard about it in Phoenix, the halftime locker room speeches and getting his guys fired up, ready to go. That's what he does. Yeah, that's one of his strengths, is his motivation, his leadership, and he's really shown that. And the second half, it looks like we have fresh legs. We looked dead in that second quarter.
Yes,
last night. But we come out in the third quarter, we dropped 39 on their head, and it's like, okay, we're right back into it. Let's close this thing out, and we did just that. Again, our G League team kind of gave up a little. Case and Wallace for the Thunder had a good end of that fourth quarter, getting Oklahoma City right back into it. But I think it's just we got to give our hats off to Monty Williams and his leadership.
Monty is a great leader. He's always been a great leader. Whatever team he's been on, he's always been a great leader. But that good leadership goes around. I've been on student council at my high school for 2 years. Just good leadership goes around full time. You got to be a good leader like the whole game, especially in basketball. There's a quote that I saved, which I'll look for right now, but if you want to be a good leader in this league, you have to just be a good leader all around 24/7 and not just in the second half, which this team has always been used to being a second half team. But with this culture change with Monty Williams, you have to be a 48-minute team, like you said.
You found that quote.
I'm still looking, but just you need to be a good leader 24/7, 365, especially in this league where you're trying to be competitive. And that
leadership's crucial.
Leadership is a crucial part, not only in just sports, but in life. Am I doing the right thing at the right time in the right way for the right reason?
Right.
That is the quote that I use as a leader.
Yeah.
Sometimes I forget that. But just a minute ago, but am I doing this right? Going through this quote, am I doing the right thing? Am I leading this team right? Why are we down 20? Do I think I'm doing it right? Am I doing the right thing at the right time? What time do I need to step up and be that leader? What time do I have to step up and be that coach, to be that motivation for the Pistons? Am I doing the right thing at the right time in the right way? Why is my team down 20? Am I coaching the right way, especially with this young team where they are listening to you, but they're not translating, especially in the second quarter, for the right reason? Do I love the game of basketball? And I translate leadership, especially in coaches, and because I'm a sports-based person. I love sports. Sports is my first love. But that's what I do. I go through that checklist of leadership, especially with coaches, especially with Detroit coaches like Campbell and Hinch and Williams. I look through that quote and just see, are these guys doing the right thing, the the right time, the right way, for the right reason.
I see. I feel that was really good there, Ryan. That was a good quote you pulled out there. Put into perspective, Coach Williams, what could be going through his head, as he's going through these games. But as we have tonight, we have a game against the Mavericks, 8 p.m. Next week, we won't be with you guys next Friday because I will be at home for the Pistons opening night at home opener against the Bulls on Saturday. So we will not be here next week on Friday. But we're looking ahead to next week, the first week of the NBA season. Tips off Tuesday with some national TV games on TNT. But the Pistons, as we mentioned earlier, we kick it off at Miami Wednesday night. We have Charlotte Friday night at Charlotte, and then back-to-back, first week of the season, we have a back-to-back. But we're home on Saturday against the Bulls. It's going to be a fun week of basketball, and I realistically think if the Pistons get off the right foot here and the Pistons play their brand of basketball, we could be 3-0 at the end of the week.
I could totally see that, especially with Miami losing all these guys like Strauss and then Hero.
And they're never a first couple game team. They always take them a little bit to get going.
I don't think Miami is a regular season team. They are a playoff team, and it's proven.
I mean, the Pistons beat Miami last year.
Yeah, we did. Jimmy Butler is the only bright side on this team. I mean,
Bam. Adebayo.
I was about to say, I forgot about Bam. Bam and Jimmy are the only. Caleb Martin.
Jovic.
This Miami Heat team is very deep.
I wouldn't say it's deep. I think they got some. I think that's their one problem is their depth a little bit because they didn't have the depth to trade for Dame.
No.
Right. So they have Duncan off the bench. They have Jovic off the bench. I think Jovic is a really nice young player.
Jovic is great.
They have Kyle Lowry. We can't forget about that. They have Kyle Lowry.
Lowry, who's been struggling the past few years with Miami coming off the bench, but I think the Pistons keep it close. I think they'll win. Charlotte win. Sorry.
Well, Charlotte's had our hand a little bit.
Charlotte has had our hand for a while, but the past couple games we've played against them,
Sadiq Bey. That's Sadiq Bey performance.
Sadiq Bey was doing Sadiq Bey things, but we don't have Sadiq anymore.
I miss you, Sadiq.
But I think we're going to win. LaMelo's back, which kind of scares a little bit.
LaMelo versus Cade, that'll be fun.
That'll
be fun.
Here's the thing. The Hornets win with LaMelo Ball. Losing LaMelo a lot last year hurt for the Hornets. LaMelo, Hayward, Brandon Miller.
Can't forget that the Hornets lost a 20-point-per-game scorer, too, in Kelly Oubre.
Yes, you did lose Oubre. Hayward's back. I still forget that Hayward plays for the Hornets, but
he could be coming off the bench for Miller.
This Hornets team looks good on paper.
Yeah.
But can they translate it this year? They're expected to be one of the worst teams in the league, but praying for a healthy LaMelo, praying for just Brandon Miller to do well because he hasn't been doing the hottest. He's had a couple highlights, but just
the Thompson twins have looked a little bit better.
The Thompson twins and Scoot has looked a little better.
Yeah.
And Wemby, but Brandon Miller is just...
Brandon Miller will be special.
He'll be good.
I think Miami, that's going to be a close game, man. It's going to be a close game. I think it could go either way. I think Miami's going to take it, though. Mm-hmm. I think they do. I want the Pistons to win,
I think they're going to lose in overtime.
I think Miami's going to win this one.
I think Miami's going to win in overtime. Pistons are going to lose in overtime. That's what I meant.
Charlotte, I think we take it from Charlotte, and then we win the home opener against Chicago. I really do. I think that's how it's going to go.
My only thing, though, is that I don't want these 3 games to be 3 close games. I want at least 1 or 2 of those games to be very competitive, and at least the Pistons win by at least 9+.
So
that Miami game will be close. Charlotte, I feel like, still be competitive, but I think we're going to edge out, win by at least 12. And then that Bulls game, I think we're going to win by 6. That's just
your prediction.
This Pistons team struggles a lot in the first half, and Monty needs to put that in their head. Again, I don't want to go back to the leadership quote, but Monty just needs to step up as a first-half leader. Monty needs to realize that he doesn't have Booker, Durant, and all these other guys anymore, and he now has Cade Cunningham, which is better than all 3.
I think the first week's be big for Cade. Mm-hmm. I think Cade's going to have to come out the gates firing on all cylinders. I think Ivy's going to have to be stepping up. I think Duran down low that physical press. I mean, we saw it last night. When Duren or Stu came out, that's when the Thunder started feasting down low. So I think that's something where Duren, I want to see a lot from Duren. I want to see a lot from Stu. Oster, I want him to continue this hot streak shooting that he's got going right now. And Cunningham, I want to see Cunningham averaging at the end of the week 24, 8, and 8.
Yeah, Duren is Adebayo, or Duren is the next Adebayo, I feel like. And it's going to be Adebayo versus Adebayo in that first game, which is going to be very fun. I feel like that down-low matchup. But then again, I think the Pistons could go either. I don't think they're going to be 3-0. I think they could be 2-1.
2-1.
2-1 is my prediction. It's
I think
safe.
these are 3 winnable games, but you could also easily lose one of these games. Or all of these games. We could be 0-3 at the end of this week. It's really a toss-up with these teams.
I don't think they'll be 0-3. No.
I think we'll squeeze out a win. I'm just saying all 3 of these teams can beat us, but we could also beat all 3 of these teams. Well, that's all we have for today's show. Thanks for spending part of your Friday with us here for episode 3 of Count That Baby, and to follow on 91.5 The Mountain, YouTube, and wherever you find your podcasts. We'll be back with you in 2 weeks to recap the start of the regular season. For my buddy Ryan Donnelly, I'm Anthony Schulte. So long, everybody.
Love you, Mom and Dad. Thanks for listening today.